Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. We're going to start putting this CJ3B body together. There's a few details I want to show you before we get going. But you can see we've got our floor ready. Wheelhouse panels. Side panels are ready to go. Everything's basically just clamped up. We're going to get the spot welder out and start going at this. But just one detail I want to show you about the tail light panel. And I'm going to set the camera up and try and talk you through it. So I'll be right back with you. Okay, here's the passenger side wheelhouse laying on its side and tail light panel. And the factory always, when they put the tail light panels in, remember when we were making these, we left this little groove in here. And basically they kind of hooked that on there. And they brought it around and they put the seam on the inside, and I think I could take you around and show you that. That should stay. Okay, so when they put the tail light panel on, hang in there with me, they put the seam on the inside like that, and as you can imagine, you know, that's your wheelhouse, so you got all your weather and everything coming right at that seam, and a lot of times they rust out there. I'm going to take you over to another vehicle and show you, because I can't hold everything at once here. I'll take you over to that snowblower Jeep. Now usually when I build a body for myself or for a project I'm doing, for myself, I won't do it like that, but I think you can see that. I better get a light. But the seam here, that's on the inside. There's your wheel, and you can imagine as the wheel is slinging stuff off, it's hitting that seam and it's getting driven into that joint there. But let me get a light, I'll show you that a little better. Okay, there's that joint on the inside of the wheelhouse. And you can see it's just directly open to the wheel spray. So, and that's how the factory would do it. And this body started out, this whole snowblower Jeep started out being a customer's, and then they didn't want to finish it, so I'm kind of building it for myself. But they wanted it kind of original, so I kept the panels original, but I don't usually do that for myself. And I got the idea when I was restoring an early Agri Jeep, a CJ2, not a CJ2A, but a CJ2, the prototype ones. And if you want to know more about those, you can get that book there, and it describes them pretty good. But these vehicles were prototypes, and they started building them in August of '44, and I completely restored Agri Jeep CJ2 number 6. And I built the body for number 14, and at that time American Central was building the bodies, or so we think. Willys might have been doing some in-house stuff themselves. Kind of hard to decide, but they were hand built, and the guy building the body for number 6 way back in '44 did something a little different. With the tail light panel. I think he was thinking and pretty smart about it, and I'll show you how we put the panels in when I do them. Okay, when I put a tail light panel in, I still make the tail light panel with this slot in it, so you can put it in any way you like. Okay, kind of hard to hold everything, but now this is how it was on the Agri Jeep number 6. And they put this seam on the inside, and then when your tailgate surround comes around that, it comes a little further here, and you just kind of stitch weld it up here, and that disappears. But what that does for you that keeps no seam in there. You know, that's just a joint there, and if you know you're going to be out in the mud or the rain or anything like that, you just hit it with a bead of seam sealer in there, and it's much better. You don't have any wet or anything driving into the seam that would normally be there. So just a little tip I picked up when I was restoring that early Jeep. You could tell those bodies, they were handmade, and I completely went through it, and you can see how they cut and welded things to get everything to fit. They were prototypes, so they built them one at a time, and whoever was building CJ2 number 6 had a very good idea by keeping that seam on the inside. It really makes them last. I'll go outside and show you another one, and you can see how the dirt builds up there and stuff. But this is just a nicer way to do it, I think, and it keeps the Jeep from rusting out quicker than normal. A lot of times you'll see on the inside of the wheelhouse a line coming up there of rust, and that's the reason why. So let's head outside and take a look at another one. Okay, here we are in this CJ2A that you've seen here a few times. This one's getting ready to leave. But there's that joint, and you can see right in here, I think you can see it, it's starting to belly out. And you can imagine, with the wheel being right there, and all the stuff flying back there, that's why, if you remember when we built these mounts, we got rid of that top area there that always collects a lot of junk. See, there's a lot of junk in there now. And the same thing with that seam. So if you keep that seam on the inside, it makes a world of difference, and it gets covered up by your tailgate surround. That's that piece right there. So it's little things like that that make bodies last a lot longer than original. So we'll put some weldable primer in all our joints and all like that, and I'll get the spot welder out and we'll start assembling it. But I've been getting quite a few emails and guys wanting to see the original CJ3B Welder Jeep. So we're going to take a walk in the barn, and some guys wanted some specific shots of the governor and the welder, how it was mounted. So we're going to go take a look at that next. Okay, here we are in the other barn looking at the Welder Jeep as it arrived here. It's in pretty tough shape. A lot of rust and a lot of corrosion everywhere. Fenders surprisingly look pretty good, but a few guys were asking me about the governor, and this has its original governor and all the linkage. It's a little homemade right here, but it worked for them. They put quite a big hole in the firewall there, but it still works. It's free, and the linkage is all here, heading over to the carburetor. So it's all free and working, and it was running when it rolled in. I drove it here in the barn, smoking like crazy, so the rings or valves are probably worn out real bad on this one, but that's what the engine looks like, you know, and it's just beat up all around. The bumper's tweaked, and it just took a beating. But windshield was surprisingly in good condition too. The sun's beaming and you can't really see it. But here's the welder mount. You get your belts coming up under that shield. It's hard to see. And they tighten the belts. This is the hinge end where it pivoted. And they had some bolts that you tighten up and just kind of rock the welder up, and that would tighten your belts. And it's a General Electric unit, 300 amp, and it does work. The dials are kind of frozen, the levers are frozen, and I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the General Electric. I was going to try and build a Miller themed Jeep here and put a Miller welder in there, but I can't really get those guys to talk to me about making a PTO driven welder. But I'm still working on that, and That's what the Jeep looked like when I got it. He made himself little trays in here, I guess, to keep some tools and welding rod and stuff. Okay, while we're in here and we got the morning sun shining in, I figured I'd show you a couple more Jeeps. The sun is kind of tough, but this is a CJ5 Perkins diesel Jeep. And I can't really open the hood. I got some stuff in the way, but this one's rusted real bad. There's a little peek at the Perkins. And that's a good running Jeep. It's missing the radiator. Still hunting around for the right radiator for this. But that's all the shot I can get you at a Perkins. But it's pretty rusty. And it's got a hard top. Get the T98 in there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but T98's in there. And the mice are getting into the seats like they do. But here's a compressor unit out the back. And they tell me that this Jeep got to places and drilled rock, and they blasted rock for some of the ski slopes in New Hampshire. There wasn't any other vehicle that could get up in the areas this one could, so that's what the guy used it for. But it really needs complete restoration. It's in tough shape, but it does have the Perkins and it does run good. So that's what that one looks like. And this one here, we got a little bit of ceiling falling down on it. Flying squirrels like to get in there and chew everything up. But this is a complete trencher, and I've got all pieces for it. And the body is in very nice shape on this one. It's got the dual wheel rear end. Let me give you a peek in there. And this one was running, driving, and trenching when I got it. But the motor was smoking real bad. This is another one that something's wrong with the motor. It runs, but it's kind of like a crop dust and it smokes so much. But piece of window there. It's got everything on it. It's got the pump there. It's got the dozer blade. And that's probably gonna have to be remade. That's beat up, but it's in very nice shape. Body wise, it has some surface rust, but it's pretty solid. And it's got that Dana 70 dually in the back, and I've got that tow truck with the Dana 70 and the snowblower Jeep with the Dana 70, so they work real nice. I don't know if you can see it, but it's showing 1,466 miles and 2,172 hours. So there's that one. Hardtop's in pretty nice shape. So all projects that need to get done. As you can see, I got the remnants. There's a sawmill set beam and stuff. I got the remnants of the sawmill in there. There's the dozer blade. So there's a lot to do, but we're gaining on it. And we'll go back in and start setting up that CJ3B for spot welding. Okay, back over at the 3B. When we start putting this together, there's a sequence to getting them together right so you get the spot welder everywhere. So the first thing we're going to do is attach the side panel to the taillight panel right down this seam here with the spot welder. Then we're going to attach the wheelhouse to the floor here, this connection, and then once that's together, we'll come over the top here with the spot welder, because we can reach with the big jaws, and we'll put the side panel to the wheelhouse. So that's going to happen on both sides. We're going to put the weldable primer in all the joints first and let that dry for an hour or so, and during that time we'll get the spot welder set up again, and you've seen me do that before, and we'll get all these joints welded up nice, and that will be the basic back end of the Jeep. We'll get the rear cross sill in there, and that'll be the whole back end of the Jeep. And at that point I'm really going to have to dig that 3B out of that barn and start salvaging the cowl and the firewall and any other pieces I can, and start making the floor and join the front to the back. So that'll be next time, and thanks for watching, and feel free to comment or subscribe or hit the like button. Let me know what you'd like to see, and we'll catch you next time, and we'll have the whole back end of this together. Okay, catch you next time.